Hi everyone, welcome back to Ukulele Next Steps with me, Matt Stead. In this video, we're going to have a look at some techniques that the great player Jake Shimabukuro uses. We're going to look at a really lovely fast strumming technique using 16th notes. We're going to explore how Jake uses an open G string to add some really lovely tension to the chords he plays. And we're going to learn a strummed version of the song that launched Jake into superstardom, Whilst My Guitar Gently Weeps. If you don't already know Jake Shimabukuro and his music, check out some YouTube videos. He's just such an incredible player. He'd already been on the scene for years and years in various bands since being very young, but he recorded a version of Whilst My Guitar Gently Weeps, a beautiful chord melody version in Central Park, and it was that video that went viral and kind of shot him to fame in the ukulele world, if you like. Now he tours the world and he's regarded as the best or one of the best players in the world. An absolutely fantastic player. I find him really, really inspiring. So have a look at some of his YouTube videos, and he's got a new album out now with playing with some real superstars from the world of music like Willie Nelson. So check that out as well. He's absolutely brilliant. Let's have a look at a couple of the techniques that he uses then and see if we can replicate them in a really lovely strummed version of Whilst My Guitar Gently Weeps. Just one tiny caveat before we start. This is just going to give you a flavour of Jake's playing. Jake being the best ukulele player in the world, he uses many, many different techniques and styles in his playing. It's what makes him so great. But this is going to give you a flavour of his playing and allow to bring a bit of that into your own ukulele playing, which I think is really, really exciting. So without further ado, let's take a look. Let's get right into it. This is the strum sound that we're after today. Now, before I teach you how to do that, let's just analyse it just a tiny bit to see what's going on and why it sounds so nice. The first thing that makes this strum sound so exciting and so full is that Jake uses a lot of 16th note strums or 16 beat strums. What do I mean by that? So if we break a strum down to its most simple, so say we're in a normal song that is in common time 4/4 timing, we could strum once on every beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we can think of that as quarter note strums because each one is a quarter of a measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a measure, 4 strums, each one is a quarter of a measure. Now I can keep the tempo the same and I can add the offbeats in between that using an up strum. So now I could play, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, I could just add up strums in for 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now we could call that we're playing 8th beats or 8th notes because we're playing 8 strums in a measure. Tempo's the same, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, but we've added the ands. Now what we can do is we can take that up another level and add yet more strums in between, like this. 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a. 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a. Okay, now we've got 16 strums per measure. The tempo is still the same, but we've filled in the gaps between the strums. And that's the important thing to remember with this strum. A lot of people think about it as a fast strum, but the tempo's the same. We've just thickened it up by adding all those little offbeats and the notes in between the offbeats. So when I strum that 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a, if I slow it down and count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 60 notes, and that's what we're aiming towards. Now, don't panic, I'm going to show you how to do that. So just think about it as doubling the amount of strums as we go. So just to recap, quarter note strums, 8th strums, otherwise known as straight 8s, then 16th note strums. Okay, let's take a look at how to do that then. Grab your uke, 45-degree angles, strumming roughly where the body of the uke meets the neck. We'll talk a little bit about right hand technique in more detail later on. But just for now, hold your left hand across all of the strings and don't press. We don't want a chord like that. Woo. We just want this sound where we're just touching the strings and we get that chunk sound, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to start by playing quarter notes or just 4 down strums per measure. I'll show you what I mean. It's easier to show you than explain it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just join me on this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're playing quarter notes because each one is a quarter of a measure or a quarter of a bar. Remember, bar and measure means the same thing. Now let's change to 8 notes. All we need to do is keep our hand moving the same speed, but we're going to add an up strum in between each of these down strums. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now we're strumming 8th notes because each one of these strums is an 8th of a measure or an 8th of a bar. Now, how do we get to those 16th strums and count them in time? If we think about this as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 8th notes as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, the way to count 16th notes is to strum twice as fast as that and count 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. At speed it would sound something like this. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. But let's get there gradually. Join in with me. I'll go really slow and then we'll gradually build up the tempo. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Just keep strumming up and down and count out loud or in your head along with me. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. So now we're playing 16th notes, 16 in a measure, but to get it into the same tempo we were doing before, we need to speed it up so it's twice as quick as the 8th notes. Let's do it gradually. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E. There we go, keep it there. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, we did it. We matched the tempo of 1, 2, 3, 4, but we filled in the gaps. 1, 2, 3, 4. That, at its most basic, is 16th note strumming. It really adds a sense of drama. Isn't that cool? Now let's look at how we can add even more impact to that strum to make it more interesting by adding some little gaps and pulses in between those 16th note strums. Let's listen to that original strum I was doing again. Can you hear there's 2 pulses in there? I'm really exaggerating it with a rolled strum. Now those pulses are what gives this strum its really kind of forward sounding kind of energy. And I don't want you to overanalyze this, but part of the reason is that the second pulse, the second loudest strum that I do, is before halfway through the measure. You might think if we're doing common time, 4/4 timing, that if the first pulse was on 1, that the next pulse would be on 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But it actually comes just before the third beat. It's on the off beat beforehand. So it creates this sense of forward momentum. Now, I don't like to think about kind of breaking down strums into ups and downs and numbers. I think it's a really simple way to get you playing badly and stressing the time and kind of playing like a robot and being all mechanical. So we're going to go back to the way we learnt some other kind of strumming techniques. We're going to think of it in terms of a rhythm. So turn your uke upside down, the other way around. You can either have it on your lap or you can have it up here. We're going to use the back of the ukulele like a drum. Don't worry, we're going to be very gentle. We're not going to damage your ukulele. We're going to tap nice and lightly. Now, let's replicate that 16th note strum kind of feel. It would be something like this. Okay, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Let's slow that down and you join in with me. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Oh, I had to stop, I'm running out of breath. Now another way to think about that, because we're going to be strumming up and down on our ukulele, let's use that running kind of phrase that we used when we looked at other strumming techniques. So now when you tap, I want you to think of it as running, 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 running. Let's just give it a go. 2, 3, 4. Running, 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 running. Fantastic. Okay. Now, if our strum or rhythm was just that over and over again, it would be really boring, wouldn't it? So all we need to do to create a sense of drama is to add a couple of gaps. Now, I don't want you to think of them as gaps, because then, again, it gets into this counting thing and it gets really complicated. I just want you to copy back this. The first thing we're going to do is this. Walk, running, running, running. Walk, running, running, running. Walk, running, running, running. Let's have a go. 2, 3, 4. Walk, running, running, running. Walk, running, running, running. Fantastic. Now we're going to go walk, running, running, walk. Let's give it a go. Walk, running, running, walk. Walk, running, running, walk. Walk, running, running, walk. Walk, running, running, walk. Now we're nearly there. We're going to make it slightly more complicated, so I'm going to slow it down. See if you can copy this back with me. Walk, running, running, walk. And running, 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 walk. Running, running, walk. And running, 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 walk. Running, running, walk. And running, running, running. Fantastic. Now, if that's difficult to do and remember, on the printable PDF of the board that we're going to use in a minute for Whilst My Guitar Gently Weeps, I've written it out. And I'll write it on the screen now as well so you can see it and copy it back. A few more times. Walk, running, running, walk. And running, 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 walk. Running, running, walk. And running, 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 walk. Running, running, walk. And running, running, running. Good. Okay, now you might think I've gone completely mad, but when we put that back into strumming, you'll suddenly see that it will feel more natural because you've got that rhythm. So practice that a few times. Make sure you're really, really comfortable with that rhythm. Now turn your uke back the other way around. We're going to go back to this chunked strum. So we're going to hold up here and we're going to replicate that with our fingers as a strum now. So first thing I want you to do, normal strum, but follow this pattern. When I say I walk, it's a down strum. When I say running, it's a down up. So walk is walk, 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 walk. Anytime I say running, just strum up and down. Running, 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 running. Now you might think, why not tell us just downs and ups? But this strumming pattern is so complex. When you do it as downs and ups, it's really hard to be thinking down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. It really kind of makes things too mechanical and it tenses people up. And I find if you can just follow this walk, running, running pattern, it actually doesn't matter whether you're on an up or a down. It's all about the rhythm. So let's give it a go. We're going to start with just the first bit of the strum. Walk, running, running, walk. Okay, just that simple. Walk, running, running, walk. Okay, walk, running, running, walk. running, running, walk. Walk, running, running, walk. Okay, again, because we're thinking in walks and runnings as rhythms, you're not tensing up because you're not thinking about these downs and ups, hopefully. Now, the last bit of the strum, this is the only place where I do want to tell you about an up and a down. It makes it easier if you start this last part of the strum with an up strum. And that up strum is the and then we go running, running, running. So the second part of the strum, and running, running, running. Okay? And running, running, running. Start on the up strum, and running, running, running. Okay? Then we put that together. Walk, running, running, walk, and running, running, running. Okay? Notice that little gap. Walk, running, running, walk, and running, 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 walk, running, running, walk, and running, 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 walk, running, running, walk, and running, 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 walk, running, running, walk, and running, running, running. That is your strum pattern. Now you might have to break it down really slowly. Walk, running, running, walk, and running, running, running. That's absolutely fine. Go as slow as you like and then build up the rhythm as you go. Now, I really love the mantra. If you can play something slow, you can play it fast, because that's just practice. Practice just gets you faster and faster as we go and you get more confident. So as long as you get the rhythm, walk, running, running, walk, and running, running, running. That's all that matters at the moment. So now that you've practiced that, let's get you playing that with a chord. I'm going to play this kind of altered C chord. Sometimes it's called a C5 chord because we've added a G note to it. Again, don't worry about the theory for now. What you're going to do is you're going to take your little finger and place it on the 3rd fret of the A string, 3rd finger and place it on the 3rd fret of the G string. Okay. Then we're going to practice that strum pattern I just showed you. Walk, running, running, walk, and running, 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 walk, running, running, walk, and running, running, running. It's already starting to sound really lovely, isn't it? Again, if we were thinking down, down, up, down, up, up, down, up, down, up, the chances are we're really tense up. But if you count in your head, walk, running, running, walk, and running, running, running. Just keep that rhythm going no matter what. Now, there's a couple of extra things we can do just before we get into the song to take that strum and make it even more interesting. So remember I said those pulses, they're kind of ahead of the beat. That's what gives it that kind of surging feel to it. Now, let's try emphasising those pulses with a technique that we learned, I think, right back at the start of the intermediate course, often called a rolled strum, sometimes called the fan stroke. Now, we're going to do a very, very simple one. We're not going to do a big kind of flamenco type roll or anything like that. We're going to keep it simple. When we've got those walks in the strum, walk, there's one, running, running, walk, there's the other. Those down strums, just those single walks. All I want you to do is on those strums, I want you to drag all 4 of your nails over the strings when you strum down. It's that simple. So if you imagine we're strumming mostly with our index finger, occasionally I'll thicken it up with a few more fingers, but generally with our index finger. When we have those walks, just drag all 3 or 4 fingers over the strings and it will just thicken it up slightly. Have a listen. Okay, do you hear that? That's just the start of the strum. Walk, running, running, walk. Okay. It doesn't have to be a big flamenco strum where we're fanning out our hand. It's as simple as just dragging those fingers over the strings and it gives that particular beat a feel of a pulse. Walk, running, running, walk, and running, 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 walk, running, running, walk, and running, running, running. Slow down. Walk, running, running, walk, and running, 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 walk, running, running, walk, push down a little harder on those beats if you want to give it a real feel of surge, but just thickening it up with those nails on those beats makes a massive, massive difference. So since we're at the whiteboard, let's just have a look at that strumming pattern written out. Now, you'll probably know from one of my earlier videos in a beginner's course that I'm not a big fan of strum patterns. I think they can be really formulaic. But in this case, if you think about it as a rhythm, it really helps to give you that Jake feel. Again, I really want to emphasise this. Try not to think about it as ups and downs. I've written in Ds and Us as ups and downs here, just in case some people are really insistent on it. But if you can think in terms of just kind of tapping that pattern out and then practicing it, thinking of walking and running, you'll pick it up much quicker. The two little arrows, incidentally, those are accent marks, and that just means that you're going to put a bit of a pulse, a bit of an accent on the two walks, and we did that by using a rolled strum, didn't we? Okay, so let's have a look at the actual chords involved in Whilst My Guitar Gently Weeps, or While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Should get it right since I'm a big Beatles fan. Now, there's something fascinating about Jake's playing, and I've been to loads of his concerts, and I kind of try to analyse what was going on. Even when he's just strumming chords, his choice of inversions where he plays them on the fretboard is really, really interesting. But he also does this trick which makes his kind of strumming sound really fluid and lovely. And a real common trick that he does is he tries to keep an open high G string, sometimes on every single chord in a piece of music. And sometimes he'll even alter the chord so that it has that G note in it. So for instance, if we have a look at this F chord here, by the way, you can print this off as a downloadable printable PDF, link is in the description below. If you have a look at this F here, we would normally play an F like this, wouldn't we, in first position, where we'd have a finger on this note up here, which is an A note on the G string. Well, Jake does away with that, so he's actually altering the chord. It's kind of turning it into an F9, but we're just going to call it an F because it's a lot easier and, to remember. But he's taken away that A note and replaced it with an open G note. And that tension and consistency of having that G note ringing out through the whole piece, it actually creates a real fluid sound to the piece. And if you analyse it, if you look at any one of these chords, and I'll go over them in a minute with you, not a single one of these chords involves a finger on the G string. That is one of those things that gives it that classic Jake Shimabukuro sound. We've altered chords, and we're not playing them the way you would expect sometimes, to make sure we have that open G ringing out through the whole piece. Now, just a quick note on low G players. You can absolutely do this with low G. You might find occasionally the open G string, because it's there all the time, will get a little bit boomy, but it will work. Personally, just in terms of a lot of Jake Shimabukuro arrangements, because he plays that high G ukulele, normal re-entrant tuning, I'll quite often use a high G uke like I am today. So let's have a look at the verse first in terms of the chords. I'm going to show you a really smooth and easy way to change between these chords to keep them really simple. A nice thing about this piece of music is that every chord apart from this F here is held down for one measure. And every measure is once through your strumming pattern. So that makes it really easy to kind of keep that consistency going and follow where we are in the piece of music. So the first chord, we have a C minor. Now, it's not technically the chord that we end up playing isn't a C minor, but when George Harrison wrote it, it was a C minor. So we are going to think about it as an altered C minor rather than any other chord. But in effect, what we have is that first chord I showed you earlier. I'm going to use my little finger on that C note there, 3rd fret of the A string, and my 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the E string for a G note. So in effect, we're just playing G, C, G, C when we strum that chord, and that gives it that powerful sound. It's technically a power chord, actually. Now, the reason I want you to use those two fingers especially, let's just practice 4 down strums to get used to that first. Now, the reason for using those two fingers is that this next chord, this version of a C minor 7, You can keep that third finger where it is, and you can just drop your index finger down on the first fret of the A string. Can you see that? I've left the chord diagram up there so you can see it. Okay, so sometimes really thinking about those fingers you use can really help. Okay, so little finger and third finger. Little finger comes off and index finger down here on the first fret. Then we have a version of a C minor 6, and because of our fingering we're in the right place, we take that finger off and strum. Gives you that lovely C minor 6 chord. Okay, so let's put that together. Okay, so first chord, little finger, third finger. Little finger off, first finger down on that first fret of the A string, and then just take it away for the C minor 6 chord. Keep your finger where it is, and notice this next chord, this C minor flat 6. Whoa, interesting name for a chord, but easy to play. We just move it up a fret, and this second finger comes down here on the third fret. So you can think about it as 0, 0, 4, 3. Isn't it lovely, the tension that chord creates? There it is. Okay, save that one there. Let's put those 4 together. And notice, listen out for the sound of that high G ringing out the whole time. Okay, little and third. Little finger off, index finger down for C minor 7. Take away your index finger for C minor 6. Move that finger up and drop your second down for C minor flat 6. Okay, keep your fingers where they are. The next line starts with that C minor chord again, which we did like that in the first version. But because we're coming from this chord, and because of what comes next, when we go to this chord here, what I want you to do is take away your third finger, and place your first finger on top of your second finger. So we're coming from this chord here, C minor 6, C minor flat 6 even, and then we're adding that index finger on like this. Now that creates a smooth transition from here to there, but it also means when we go to this B flat, we can take this second finger, move it up to the 5th fret, and we can build this G shape. It looks like a G major chord, doesn't it? But it's played at the 5th fret. Notice that little 5 up there? So it's like a G major, just moved up to the 5th fret. Then the first time round, we come back to this funny F chord I mentioned earlier, like an F without that A note up there. And we drop these 2 fingers down for a standard G7. Okay. Then we go back to the start and we do all of these chords again, only this time, instead of F and G7, we play these 2 chords here. I'll talk you through those when we get there. But just for practice, let's go back here. It's not the greatest disaster in the world if you use different fingers, but try and get your little finger and third finger to start off with for this C minor. Here we go, 2, 3, 4. Little finger off, first finger down. Take that finger away. Move it up and drop your second one down. First and second finger. Up to the G shape at the 5th fret for the B flat. Now we have an E flat. This is a lovely inversion of an E flat chord. Played way up. We just take this shape we're already holding and we take it up to the 10th fret. Isn't that lovely? And that's easy to do because we're already in the correct shape. Just look for your dots. Remember, on your ukulele, the 10th fret is the only one that has a gap of 2 in front of it. So we head for that one there. And then to finish it off is easy because we keep that shape again. and we drag back down here for a normal G. Let's try putting that whole verse together. Come in with me after 4, little finger and third finger. 2, 3, 4. Off. Move it up and drop your second finger down. Use your first and second fingers. Next line. G shape at the 5th fret. We're going to go back to an F, 1 finger, and a G7. Then we go for the second verse, little finger and third finger, C minor 7, drop that index down, let it go for C minor 6, move it up and add your second finger for C minor flat 6, 1 and 2 for C minor, 5th fret G shape, B flat, take that up to the 10th fret, lovely, and bring it back for a G. Fantastic. There we've got half the song already. That's the lovely verse. And did you notice that sound of that ringing high G the whole time? Gives it a lovely smooth sound, doesn't it? Let's try that with our strum now. Okay, now if it helps, you can pause the video at this moment and go back to practicing your walk, running, running, walk, and running, running, running. Or, and probably better, would be to mute strings and practice it this way. Walk, running, running, walk, and running, 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 walk, running, running, walk, and running, running, running. When you've got that, try the first chord. You're comfortable. Okay, try that a few times round so you're really comfortable, and then let's try this with the progression. It will sound beautiful once you get it. Might take a lot of practice, but once you get it, it will sound really great. Let's give it a go so you can try playing along. I'm going to play 2 of these verses. The first one I'm going to play F and G7. The second one I'm going to go right up to the 10th fret for this E flat and G. I'm going to slow the tempo down for our first go. Going to keep it nice and simple. Rather than a counting, I'm going to chunk a strum one of these progressions once so you can hear it. So that to give you a counting will sound something like this. And then we start straight after those chunked. Okay, here we go. Get your fingers ready for the first chord. Walk, running, running, walk, and running, running, running. C minor 7. Index down, take that away, move up, first and second finger, G shape at the 5th, back to an F, and G7. Last 2 fingers again, back to the top. C minor 7, C minor 6, move it up, first 2 fingers, up to the 5th fret, up to the 10th fret, back to a G. Fantastic, well done. That might take a few goes to get really, really comfortable. Practice it through until you get it, and then you can speed up the tempo. Let's have one play through at tempo. If you're not ready for it, just have a listen to how it can sound really, really lovely. And if you've got that pattern, give it a go. I'll do the same chunked one, but obviously a bit quicker now. First 2 fingers, 5th fret, back to F, and G7. Back to start, managed that. Absolutely fantastic. So well done, guys. We've got the verse. The chorus is actually easier, I think, if anything, with the chords. So let me talk you through it quite quickly. In terms of the structure and everything, rather than doing lots of bounce backs and all sorts, I've kind of simplified it. So I'll talk you through that in a minute as well. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to play this chorus through to here twice. That's the first thing we're going to do. Okay. Again, don't worry about the strum pattern just for a minute, just to get the chords. We're going to do a bog standard C. Move that finger back and add your second finger to this D note here for the E minor 7. Easy peasy, right? A minor 7, easiest chord in the world. Back to that E minor 7. F, remember, we're only doing our one finger F. There's two measures of that, notice. Then we've got this lovely tension and release that comes from this G7 sus4 to G7, okay? So G7 sus4 is like a G7, but your finger is moved up here to this C note. You can either do it like this, 1, 2, 3, or I prefer to do this. I'll either just use my little finger and that one's off, and then I'll put it back down. Sometimes I'll even have both fingers down. So when I go to the G7 chord, which comes next, I can just release it. Why is this one called a G7 sus4? Well, it's a G7 chord, isn't it? With that note added. And what note is that in the scale? It's a C, G, A, B, C, the fourth note. So in effect, we've taken the third note and we're pushing it up to a fourth, and that's what G suspended fourth means. But listen to that lovely tension, which releases when we go to that G7, which in itself wants to go to a C, which is the start of the chorus again. Then we play the whole of that through again. C, I'll just go through it quickly. E minor 7. Fingers off A minor 7, back on for E minor 7, funny F for 2, and then we're still going to do that G7 sus4 and G7, and then we're going to go back to the start for another verse. Okay. Let's try that with the strum pattern. Again, I'm going to do it slow tempo first to get you used to it. Something like this. Okay. Similar to here, rather than a count in, I'll do one of those chunked. And then we'll come in on the C. Okay, here we go. C. E minor 7, fingers off, back on, F, one finger, another measure of that, G7 sus4, G7, then we do it again, C, E minor 7, A minor 7, and back on. F for two measures. G7 sus4. G7. And then we will play a verse and a chorus one more time. So in effect, for the structure, we're playing this verse twice, second time with these chords. Then this chorus twice, top two lines. Then we're going to do the verse twice again, second time with these chords. Then we're going to do the chorus as was. Now the very last time you play the chorus, the second time, we're going to add a coda. All that means is the last time we play the chorus, we play it once through as normal. And then when we get to this mark here, which is a coda mark, it just means we drop to some final chords. we're going to play this coda, this bit that I've bracketed in orange. So the very, very last time we play this chorus, once we played it through as normal, we're going to play all of these chords, one measure of F, and then we're going to drop down here, and we're going to finish with E minor 7, D minor 7, which is in effect the same as this G7 sus4 that we do up here. G7, and then we finish with our funny double C, which again looks like this. Now just really quickly, because I don't want to get desperately into the theory today, the reason this chord looks the same as this one is that this is a D minor 7, which we would normally play like this, wouldn't we, with that finger up there. But because Jake makes that technique of always having that high G ringing out with no finger on it, the D minor 7, instead of looking like that, looks like this. Okay, so coincidentally, it ends up looking like that chord. And to finish off, Jake calls it a C because that's what George Harrison wrote. Really, it's kind of like a C minor that's been altered again, okay? But because it's the final chord and the chorus is in the key of C, we're going to call it a C. Again, don't sweat the theory behind that. Just look at the note dots on the notes and play them, and you'll get this lovely sound. Let's be brave then, and let's try the whole thing. If you're really struggling with that strum pattern, but you really enjoy the sound of the song, perhaps just use a very simple straight H strum pattern, just to kind of get you through this and get you used to the chords, and then add this strum pattern when you are comfortable with it. Okay, so just take your time with this, and this will be a fun playthrough. I'll sing the lyrics, probably badly, so you can get an idea of how it sounds as a song. Remember, we're going to play all of this through twice, and then we're going to add this coda as an outro, but you'll get an idea. I put some chords up on the screen, and I'll also write the odd kind of indication of whether we're on the verse or the chorus to help you as we go along. Let's give it our best shot. Try and remember those fingerings of the chords if you can, as best you can. I'm going to drop my uke down here so that you can still see the whiteboard. You might find it easier to follow the printable PDF version anyway, but just in case anyone's following it on the whiteboard, it's out of the way. But you try and keep your uke up at a 45-degree angle. Okay, enough talk. Let's give it a go. Here we go. I look at you all, see the love bed sleeping, while my guitar gently weeps. I look at the floor and I see it needs sweeping. Still my guitar gently weeps. I don't know why nobody told you how to unfold your love. I don't know how someone controlled you. They brought and sold you. I look at the wall and I notice it's turning, while my guitar gently weeps. I don't know how you were inverted. No one alerted you. I forgot to warn you, I tend to do a ritardo at the end where we slow it down to come to that final stop on the C. But hopefully that gives you something to practice against, gives you a flavour of how lovely that lovely pattern can really bring a song to life and give you that flavour of that Jake Shimabukuro strum. So 2 lovely things to practice there. That really nice strumming rhythm that you can use on a whole variety of pieces, and it really adds a lot of energy. But also thinking about playing chords and altering them slightly as Jake does, so with that open high G ringing out the whole time, it really gives that signature sound. So it's just a little flavour of the way that Jake Shimabukuro plays. Obviously he's absolutely incredible and he's doing all sorts of things above and beyond that, but it's just enough for a flavour.